Coming down from the skies, rivers and seas boiling. 40 years of darkness, earthquakes, volcanoes, the dead rising from the grave. Human sacrifice, dogs and cats living together. That's hysteria.
Broadcasting live from the WDCE studios out of the University of Richmond. You're listening to 90.1 FM from the most trusted puppet in media. Reporting since Roswell, I'm Sam Newsman, and this is Saturday morning. I want to thank everyone, of course, for joining into the show. The phone number 804-289-UR90, 804-289-8790. If you're listening to us, we are broadcasting on the airwaves. Yes, an actual radio signal here in Richmond, Virginia. But one of the things that, of course, if you are outside of the signal, one of the things we need you to do, you can go to WDCE.org. That's the station website. There's a live stream link there at the station website, but there is an app that you can download. The app is the Live 365 app. So download the Live 365 app. We were using a different app, but I was told last week that they want to promote this one. So I want to keep a level of uniformity here at the station. So download the 365 Live app, and you can listen to the themes that we play in between the segments here where I'm live. And you ask, well, where am I live? Well, I'm live here on Instagram. I'm live here on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Was trying to get TikTok working, but it seems like TikTok's a mess because we are down here in the basement of North Court here at the University of Richmond, and it doesn't seem to be like that there's a solid signal. Last week I did try to connect to the network here, but even then I had some issues with that. Maybe we'll eventually get it, but Simple Radio is another app. Simple Radio is another app. There's a couple of other radio apps out there. Simple Radio is the one that we were promoting. However, was told last week that we want to, like I said, keep a level of uniformity because we have some kind of arrangement, I believe, with Live 365. I'm not sure if that's the case. I just know that that's what they told me to tell you. So as being a media puppet, I'm definitely doing that. I'm telling you Live 365, or like I said, WDCE.org. But at Sam Newsman on Instagram, at Sam Newsman on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. And like I said, 804-289 UR90, 804-289-8790. Now, of course, one of the big things that's happened over the last couple of few hours. The first thing is, let's start with something positive. We're talking about jobs. A jobs report says robust growth shocks economists, presents challenges on inflation. At least that's what it's saying. This is in the Washington Post. Here, the front page of the Washington Post here. Let's see here. I got the Washington Post. So, yeah, the actual newspaper. Yes, we still read the newspaper. And yes, they still actually create newspapers. But here we have, in jobs report, a real surprise. Robust growth shocks economists, presents challenges on inflation. The labor market shattered expectations in January as the economy added 517,000 jobs. And the unemployment rate dropped to 3.4%, a low not seen since May 1969, according to data released Friday from the Bureau of Labor Statistics. Job gains had been steadily dropping for months, but January's stunning job growth reflects unexpected tightness in the labor market, even amid fears of looming recessions as high-profile layoffs spread across the tech industry. So the Federal Reserve has been making an all-out effort to lower inflation, hoping that it can manage to hoist interest rates to slow the labor market without undercutting all of its strength. But that task appears much more difficult to pull off with scant signs of a cool down in a labor market that created more than 500,000 jobs in January. Meanwhile, the White House was quick to cheer the news. The President Biden said Friday that he hailed strikingly good jobs numbers, emphasized that more jobs were created in the first 2 years of his administration than during any other presidential term. Now, I guess one of the things that I wanted to bring up is the fact that, can you count it a job creation when finally all the companies that decided to lay people off because their jobs were deemed, what was the term they used? Non-essential. right? Do you remember that? Do you remember the whole term non-essential? Now, I don't know about you, but it seems to be that if I was going to a job and I was providing and getting money to provide for my family, whether it be a single mother, whether it be a family with two kids, a mom and dad, and a cat and dog, and a white picket fence, it really doesn't matter. But the fact that they were able to look you in the eye and said that your jobs were not essential is probably one of the biggest slaps in the face, a slap in the face that you could probably ever imagine. So just think about that you were told not to go to work. You're told not to go to work to provide for yourself, to provide for your family in order to pay your bills because you're not essential. The work that you do is not essential. That's what they said. They told you that, and they said that over and over and over again. And now here they are looking at you in the face and saying, well, look at how great our jobs and how much we've done for jobs. Because you know what? Job growth is so amazing. Well, what happens if there's another shutdown? Right? What happens if there's another shutdown? Are you going to tell all those people again who just got jobs and now you're bragging about the jobs that their jobs are no longer essential? Because they're not part of corporate medicine, which is a whole nother topic that we're not going to even get into right now. Oh my goodness. Good grief. No, but that's the truth. Listen, that's the truth. And, far be it from me, allow it from me, a real media puppet that has to sit there and tell you the fact that many people out there were telling you that jobs were not essential. Your job was not essential. You needed to go home. Companies were laying people off right and left. And then now all of a sudden here yesterday, they go and they get these job numbers and they sit there and brag about them and tell them that they've had the best, the most robust job economy since Nixon. Hell, I thought Nixon was a bad guy. What is that all about? But no, we want to sit there and brag about that all up and down the place. If I steal $10 from you and a week later you give me $5, I just increased your income that week by $5, is what Cato said. Statistics are a fool's playground. It is a fool's playground, and they want to sit there and they want to get up there and they want to talk about how wonderful the jobs numbers are. And the interesting thing is the reason why they are going to sit there and tell you about how wonderful the jobs market is, even though these are all jobs that people are now finally getting back to after being told that their job was not even essential. You know the reason why they're doing that? I'll tell you the reason why that they are doing that. It's very simple. It's because there's a damn Chinese balloon flying overhead in our airspace that they have to they have to sit there and make. Good grief. Oh my gosh. It makes my head explode. Go grab the duct tape. Go grab the duct tape right now. Wrap it around your head so it doesn't explode. The reason why they're telling you about job numbers right now is because there's a Chinese balloon overhead, a Chinese balloon that they can steer. They can steer, and they even said that it has a payload. A payload of what? A payload of an EMP? Has it got another payload of COVID-23? What's the payload on that? And the fact that they sit there and they lie to you and they tell you, oh, well, it's just a surveillance balloon and it got caught up in the jet stream, so it's going to sit there and fly now over America for a couple of days. Sensitive sites, ladies and gentlemen, sensitive sites. In fact, it was hovering over Montana. Do you know what's in Montana? In Montana, there are underground missile silos and there are underground military bases. Now, that's on record. This is not some type of weird tinfoil hat conspiracy noise. No. There's actually underground bases, military silos with missiles in Montana. And that's exactly where this balloon is. Let's see here. Do we have anything pulled up? Do we have any more? So it was actually flying. It was flying in at about what? It was flying in at about what? 60,000 feet. 60,000 feet. So 60,000 feet. It says Biden's Sputnik moment. Another Chinese spy balloon is transiting in Latin America. Explosion in the sky above Billings, Montana. Look at this. I have so many articles here that I can go down. Unease down below. I bet there is unease down below. Hell, what if it was a Russian balloon? Would they shoot that down? That's the question. Would they shoot the Russian balloon down? I mean, that's what I would want to know. But if it's a Chinese balloon, it's okay. They said there was an explosion in the sky above Billings, Montana, where the Chinese spy balloon was spotted infiltrating U.S. airspace. Resident witnesses in Billings, Montana saw an explosion in the sky after U.S. officials warned of Chinese spy balloon flying over the region. Explosion over the sky. Mysterious video of the aftermath shows a trail of smoke in the sky where the balloon was last spotted. Someone who took the video, the scene, said that she saw a jet go by so fast and then the explosion in the sky. The video spread on social media as defense officials said that the balloon over Montana has not exploded. So what did explode over Montana if the balloon did not? This comes after the U.S. State Department called the balloon, which was traveling over airspace at 60,000 feet, a clear violation of U.S. sovereignty, but said it wouldn't be shot down because it was flying over a number of sensitive sites. Well, if it's flying over a number of sensitive sites, wouldn't you want to shoot it down so it couldn't surveil those sensitive sites? That seems to be the case. Isn't that correct? Maybe well, I don't know. I'm just being hypothetical here. But they say they can steer it, and they say that it has a payload. What the hell kind of payload is there? So, but did you see this one? Here you go. The government says that there's another Chinese spy balloon that's traveling over Latin America. We're seeing reports of a balloon traveling over Latin America, said Brigadier General Pat Ryder, and the Pentagon spokesperson told news organization Friday night. We now assess that there is another Chinese surveillance balloon. So not only is there the one over the United States, which they said is not even going to go anywhere for a couple of days. And the interesting thing about this balloon is that President Biden said that he was going to, they briefed him about this on Tuesday. Do you remember when he met with McCarthy? He met with McCarthy on Wednesday to talk about the debt ceiling. I'm sure McCarthy had no clue about this Chinese weather balloon. And then they're talking about debt ceiling. And here we have, and then, the intel agencies, here's what's really interesting. This is rich. The U.S. intel agencies, they knew about it. And then the intel committees, the intel committees in Congress, right? Because there's a bunch of Congress, members of Congress that have access to classified information. A bunch of access to classified information. They're not even going to get briefed on it until next week. And they say that this balloon is going to be able to be in the sky for another 60 hours or so. My goodness. Yeah, he was briefed on the situation on Tuesday. Meets with McCarthy on Wednesday. Nothing is said about it until Thursday. Spokesperson for the Chinese Foreign Ministry said Friday that the balloon is just a civilian airship being used for weather purposes and deviated from its planned course. Now, do you believe that? The airship from China is a civilian airship used for research, mainly weather research purposes, affected by the Westerlines and the limited self-steering capability. With limited self-steering capability, the airship deviated far from its planned course. The Pentagon does not believe the object is a weather balloon that veered off course. This was intentional, a senior U.S. official said, adding that the balloon initially took off from mainland China. And what's it covering? Who knows? But here's what's really interesting. You want to know how they tuck their tail in? All of these people in Congress and all these government officials. Anthony Blinken. Are you familiar with Anthony Blinken? He's the Secretary of State. Secretary of State, so as he decides, he says, this weather balloon, quotation marks, this weather balloon ends up coming over our airspace. And so he was supposed to meet in Beijing next week with Chinese officials. And because this weather balloon comes overhead, he decides to cancel the trip. What do you mean cancel the trip? You should go over there and say, what the hell's going on with you guys sending a balloon over our airspace? That would be the thing to do. But no. Anthony Blinken blinks, tucks his tail underneath him, and then runs and says, I'm not going to go over there anymore because this is a violation. No, you get your ass over there and you sit there and tell them what the hell's going on. People always saying, you need to shoot it down. We're not going to shoot it down because it's over sensitive sites. Well, that's the reason why you would shoot it down. And here I am. You have to listen to a real media puppet, have to sit there and make sense of all of this. And then people want to sit there and say TikTok is bad. Oh my gosh. Well, you can't have TikTok because if you have TikTok, then the Chinese government is going to spy on your keystrokes. Can I just tell you just another thing real quick? Is that the intel agencies have been spying on you since the 1940s. And you want to sit there and talk about TikTok and say, well, I'm not going to do TikTok and blah, blah, blah. No, listen, you know what? That's just the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. The reason why you don't need to really worry about TikTok because there's a balloon overhead. There's a balloon overhead, and you're sitting there worried about TikTok, which is where I have 3,500 plus followers. And I do live streams where I talk about the news, which is a really great time. So if you do have a chance, make sure you do download TikTok. Download TikTok and you can find me there at Sam Newsman on TikTok. But then everybody wants to sit there and complain and saying, no, it's a Chinese spy thing on your app. But it's okay for the NSA to spy on you on your phone. That's just perfectly okay. Absolutely ridiculous. Listen, I don't know. I don't even know. Listen, I could go on and on about this. And I'm sure that TNT Nate is out there somewhere. He's probably hot. He's probably just as hot as I am. And the reason why he's so hot is because he's been saying this for the last couple of weeks on his Instagram feed. Get ready, be ready. Get ready, be ready. And people want to sit there and pick on me because now I have more followers on TikTok than any other thing. And yet, I love it. I love it. Let's whine about TikTok. Let's whine about TikTok. We don't want the Chinese spying on us, but then they're like, then they just send a weather balloon over the country. And that's okay. Absolutely ridiculous. You know what? If the thing that probably makes me the maddest about all of this is the fact that Blinken decided to cancel the trip. That is the reason why. That's what makes me mad about this. Because listen, if somebody came up into your neighborhood and you were going to, and then all of a sudden out of nowhere, they're like, hey, you know what? I'm going to cancel my dinner with you next week because you came over here in my neighborhood. No, you go over there and you ask them what the heck is going on. Absolutely ridiculous. Listen, I can't stress how ridiculous this really does get on multiple levels. But I do have, I believe, Nate on the phone. Nate, are you there?
Of course I'm here, Sam. I had to call in. I heard you spouting out that stuff about TikTok.
Hold on, say that again. Did they cut you off?
Oh.
They
better not be cutting the hard line this early. Listen, Sam, I heard you spouting out that nonsense about TikTok. Listen, I think everyone should be concerned with TikTok and NSA. That's all the same. We're Americans, Sam. We shouldn't be spied upon by anyone. We have to deal with it with the NSA. Hell, they're here. They're right under our nose. And now the Chinese, I heard, are flying right above us. So I think we should be concerned about it all, Sam.
We should be concerned about it all, probably. But like I said, the thing that makes me the hottest about this whole situation, and you can sit there and we can go over this too, but the idea, the fact that the Secretary of State, who is supposed to go over there next week and have a conversation in Beijing, all of a sudden tucks his tail and says, oh, by the way, I'm not going to show up because this is a violation of our sovereignty. What is he afraid? That he's going to go over there and they're going to spike his Kung Pao chicken? Like, and he's going to get poisoned or something, and that's the reason why he's canceling it. It would be more beneficial if he took himself over there and was like, what are you guys doing by sending this balloon over in our airspace, telling us that it's just because of the jet stream that now it's over here? Don't you think it would be more, it would show more a sign of strength, if you will, if the Secretary of State still kept his, I guess, his travel docket and went to Beijing next week to talk to them and ask them what the heck is going on?
Doing things to enforce that and to show us that that's the truth. Remember that these people. I mean, does that surprise you with this administration? Listen, let's take it back, Sam. Communism's 45 goals were read into the congressional record by Congressman Albert S. Furlong in 1963. These goals were gleaned from the testimony given to Congress by scholars and from writings of current or former communists. They highlighted how communism would take over the U.S. without ever firing a single bullet. Sam, the Verona files are Soviet messages U.S. intelligence intercepted throughout the 40s. I mean, this goes back. As of now, it is confirmed that at least 350 Americans played an active role in Soviet espionage. And that's in the 40s. Can you imagine today?
Well, no, hold on. Listen, interesting that you bring that up. I'm not sure if you saw the House Minority Speaker Jeffries sit there and said this week that they were going to sign a document between congressmen saying that they were going to, I guess, talk bad, or what is it? Was something about socialism. And they said, well, they can't sit there and sign this because that would be detrimental to the Democratic Party. So I just hashtag I can't. I can't, Nate. I can't, Nate. I can't.
It goes back. They've been planning this for a long time. Just think about it. Remember the 90s? FBI Director Louis Freeh wanted Clinton put under investigation by a special counsel for his dealings with China. You know what? Oddly enough, with him blabbering to China, it was the year of the rat, pun intended. And he was suspected of being one. Obviously, it was suspected that old Slick Willie and Vice President Al Gore were handing over classified information to the CCP. Everyone on Capitol Hill knew it. Just like Epstein didn't kill himself. Everyone on Capitol Hill knew it. Jeff Gerth and his team of investigators at the New York Times won the Pulitzer Prize, if that was worth anything back then, for reporting in 1999 for a series of articles that disclosed the corporate sale of American technology to who? China, with U.S. government approval. That means Billy Clinton had to sign the papers. Listen, fast forward to today. You got the recent arrest of Harvard professor Charles Lieber, a Chinese People Liberation Army officer and second Chinese national in Boston. That shows that Beijing, among others, use American academic institutions to steal technology and more. So far, we've gone over examples, Sam, and what haven't they done? Fired a bullet. You know, old Rudy Giuliani, the former mayor of New York, he didn't mince his words about the old Biden crime family. That's what he called them anyway. He said, well, old Hunter is a bag man. Says, I've prosecuted cases like this. He's collecting Joe's bribes that come to about 12 million from the Ukraine, go figure, and 3.5 million from Russia. But really big money comes from where, Sam? China. Maybe that's why no one's saying anything. Maybe they're all on the take. And the amount of money involved is literally in the tens of millions of dollars. And then we got Biden's son, Hunter. Remember, folks, this is business that you have to keep your eye on. Not everything's happening above you in some grandiose plan. This could be a satellite and a balloon in one. They're saying EMP, shoot it down. Well, right under your nose, Biden's son Hunter accepted $1.5 billion and then went back to China for an investment, not himself personally, but then went back to China 5 more times. One leaked investigative report summarized Hunter's many business dealings in China. To take just one example, his private equity deal called BHR, look it up, originally worth, what's the amount? $1.5 billion, is now worth an estimated $6.5 billion. BHR is probably generating about $130 million a year in fees, of which 10% or $13 million would go to Hunter. And according to Hunter's email, man, he's just keep an eye on that laptop and his email, folks. He just shoots himself in the foot on a daily basis when this stuff comes out. According to Hunter's email, half of this, or 6.5 million, would have to be turned over to Pop. Who's Pop? Okay, all right, Biden. And now look at the laptop. It's not only showing lewd and disgusting activities, but it's also showing political damning information as well. Because this laptop is bringing up one piece of information after another piece of information after another piece of information, and they're putting together a puzzle, folks. Currently, this is happening currently.
Well, but hold on, wait a minute. Pause. Well, I'm going to pause right there. Don't mean to interrupt, but listen, I need to talk about the laptop because don't you remember? And in fact, it was the Washington Post, the New York Times that did recently win about a couple of years back the Pulitzer Prize for the Russia collusion information. And then we have the Columbia Journal. Was it the Columbia Journal Review? The Columbia Journal Review ends up doing, I believe, a four-part series just this past week, talking about how the Pulitzer was given to these organizations for news and information that has now been deemed fraudulent. But I thought that the laptop was just nothing more than a Russian disinformation story coming in, and it was just a distraction and not real. Because you remember, like I said, the New York Times, the Washington Post did receive a Pulitzer because of their amazing investigative reporting for it. But now all of a sudden we have now Columbia. Now that's not right wing. That's not some right wing organization by any means. But when they're but when they're coming, I'm just sitting there telling you. But what they're exactly, that's exactly right. Is truth. And then now the question is Pulitzer going to take back their awards for giving them to newspaper organizations that we know of publishing disinformation, misinformation?
Lord knows who's handing out. They love to award each other. Lord knows who's handing out these Pulitzers these days. The reporting has been less than stellar. I mean, just in the past 10 years, the New York Times has been classified as junk news how many times? Anyway, I digress. You know what? That laptop wouldn't be, if it wasn't such a big deal, Hunter Biden would be countersuing the owner of the shop where he left the laptop. Because not only does that make it real, but it means it's a threat. So keep that in mind, Sam.
Well, even his lawyers came out. Even his lawyers came out and said, "Oh, well, by the way," his lawyers came out and said, "Oh, yeah, well, he had no right to go give this away to somebody." And then all of a sudden, the next day, the lawyers come out and say, "Well, just because we said that doesn't mean that it was his." So they're now trapped by sitting there coming out and saying that, "Oh, well, we're going to sue him for this," but then now we're saying, "Oh, well, but by the way, it may not be his laptop," so they don't even know what they're doing anymore.
Exactly, Sam. And you know what, Sam? Remember in previous shows here, I have given the discussion, or I've opened the discussion. I've asked our listeners to look into this one company. Guess what company comes into a major player role here, Sam? Can you guess what company?
Hold on. Let me guess. It probably rhymes with. Let me guess. Hold on. Probably black sock, right? Does it rhyme with black sock?
You are correct, Sam.
Yeah, it rhymes with black. Yeah, it rhymes with.
BlackRock comes into the picture here when it comes to China. Listen, this is a much bigger deal than balloons in the sky, folks.
So do you believe? Hold on, wait. So do you believe that the balloon? Do you believe the balloon is just a distraction? Because of course, if they wanted to just bury it, they could have just buried it on the back page, and no one would have ever known anything about it. So what's the deal with the balloon actually coming out at this point and being a big brouhaha?
Let me explain. It could not be just a distraction. And here, I'll explain why. It's the BlackRock connection, man. You got to follow the money. Here is a quote from William Hill, Executive Director of Nonprofit Consumer Research. He said this of BlackRock: "They are hamstringing U.S. corporations with bean counting on board membership and diversity quotas while they are pouring billions into China. They are virtue signaling while having a relationship with a ruthless regime, and we believe one is being used to cover for the other." In late October, this past October, Consumers Research launched a digital and TV ad campaign that is heavily critical of BlackRock's ties to China. It states, "BlackRock is propping up Chinese communist leaders." That's the advertisement. So it seems like bad guys are going after bad guys here, Sam. You're watching the world stage, on the world stage right now. You're watching two players go against each other, and it's literally unbelievable. And then Biden comes back into the picture here, Sam. Always. He's just everywhere these days. Former executives at BlackRock hold influential positions in the Biden administration and were also part of the Obama administration. Most notably, Brian Deese, director of the National Economic Council at the White House. And just guess what one of BlackRock's main investments happened to be, Sam? Here's the connection. Their main investment happens to be surveillance companies. The commercial from Consumers Research asserts that BlackRock is putting money into surveillance companies used by who? The Chinese military. BlackRock has invested millions in the Chinese surveillance companies Hikvision, look that up, folks, HIK Vision, and iFlyTech. The American Prospect, a liberal magazine actually, and website, reported the U.S. government prohibits both companies from buying American products or selling to American companies. So they are dumping literally all of their money into surveillance involving two Chinese-based companies here. This is huge. BlackRock spokesman did not address China in the corporate statement nor respond directly to the Daily Signal's questions about surveillance. Sam, creepy, you know who's mad about this? Creepy billionaire George Soros. He stated BlackRock forced U.S. investors to fund Chinese companies. Then he called for U.S. government intervention. It's like you're watching two dragons go at each other, and which is funny because this all comes back around to what I do best, Sam, and it's investigate conspiracy. This has a lot to do with more than meets the eye. So while everyone's head is in the sky, Sam, keep in mind, business dealings are being done, political dealings are being done, but also the lees of China. The lees of China. It's called a red China in China, which means the Communist Party. They cozy up with business dealings all the time with the Rockefellers and the Rothschilds. Let's see.
Now, hold on.
Oh, yeah. George Bush was in business dealings with the Chinese lees, and it seems like the lees are part of what's called the Green Gang Secret Society in China. It's a Chinese secret society with 6 million members, including 1.8 million Asian gangsters and 100,000 professional assassins. And they have targeted Illuminati members if they proceed with world depopulation plans, according to journalist Benjamin Fulford. They contacted Fulford, a Canadian expat. If you guys don't know who he is, he releases a report every Monday, and I urge you to read these reports. After he warned that Illuminati planned to reduce Asian population to just 500 million by means of race-specific biological weapons. That sounds crazy. But the Illuminati, with the exception of Japan, is very much a white man's game, Fulford says. The secret society confirmed Fulford's information and asked him for advice. He provided a list of 10,000 people associated with the Illuminati, mainly members of the Bilderberg CFR, which is the Council on Foreign Relations. Skull and Bones, neocons are high priority targets. He says this: I have been promised that not a single person will die if they negotiate in good faith, Fulford says. So obviously he thinks this is serious. Fulford is the former Asian Pacific Bureau chief for Forbes magazine. He's not just a nobody, so look him up. He quit in disgust when Forbes refused to run damaging story about one of its advertisers. You know, Sam, this is all very important stuff, Sam. So in closing, we've connected some big dots here today, and I know it was a lot of information. And with multiple communist balloons looming over us in the skies, remember the communist ideals they rule by state that they take the U.S. without ever firing a bullet, but it never said they wouldn't release balloons. Was McCarthy right to have communist paranoia? Look up McCarthy in the 50s and 60s. Was Myron Fagan? Look him up as well. Was he right about the Illuminati Chinese connection? Well, the more entangled we get in their web, the more we're not paying attention to what's happening here, and the more bullets may not be necessary. That's my report for today, Sam. As always, if you're ever in a fix, TNT Nate's got your six. Be safe out there. Watch out for falling balloons, potentially. But most importantly, be ready.
There it goes. TNT Nate, everybody. TNT Nate coming in hot with the conspiracies. Our conspiracy correspondent here on Saturday Morning Radio, trying to tie all of the dots, connecting all the dots one by one. A lot of information there. But of course, one of the things we did not talk about is the alien connection, which might be the only reason why the balloon is up there to begin with. Why? And so it can just monitor ET. Because at the end of the day, it really is all about ET. Take it from me, the most trusted puppet in media, reporting since Roswell. And speaking of ET, I did have Cobra Viper in the chat send me some information this week, and he said, Sam, you know what, one of the things I want you to do is I want you to play some more movie themes, which got me thinking. Maybe I should play some more movie themes, because it seems that with the information that we just received from TNT Nate, that we are living in a big movie. At Sam Newsman on Instagram, at Sam Newsman on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and TikTok. No matter what anybody says. Make sure you follow me on there and follow me everywhere. And once again, you're listening to WDCE 90.1 FM, broadcasting out of the University of Richmond. Download, once again, what was this? Hold on, wait. We have another phone call coming in. I have to get to some music. Hold on just a moment. Okay, so yeah, so we do have another call. All right, let's see who's on the phone. Caller, you're live here with the most trusted puppet and media reporting since Roswell. State your name. Where you're calling from?
Samuel, patch me in.
Oh, General, you're patched in. How are you this morning, sir?
Samuel, doing as I always am. Quick question for you. Do you not check your email Monday morning, Samuel?
Oh,
I thought we talked about
I did talk about yes. I read the email. Something about wanting to stick with the Royals, I believe, and also the football scores from last week, something to that effect, and Dino Nate.
Samuel, so you are reading the memos. Samuel, when it comes to encouraging people to look things up, we've discussed this. That is not an encouragement that a real media puppet should be offering to the public. You understand? A couple of things. Willie, Tommy, run the patch. Find out where TNT Dino Mate is calling from. Let's get a lock on that. The guy's a little too slick, Samuel. Every time we go to patch, he's able to cut it off before we were able to make that connection. So going forward, I'm going to need you to keep him on the line a little longer, Samuel.
Well, I tried to keep him on as long as I could this time. You're telling me that you guys are not in the. What are your boys doing back there in the back? If I had him on the phone this whole time trying to see you can get the signal on him, and then all of a sudden you're telling me that you guys still are not getting the signal on him.
Samuel, we're just getting back into the swing of things. We took a month and a half off, Samuel. So you know that we got to brush the rust off. All right. The other thing is relative to balloons. When things are flying overhead, most of the time it's just been released by a small child that was holding some birthday balloons, Samuel. I don't know why everybody is so concerned about this balloon, Samuel. What's the issue?
Listen, I completely agree with you as well. I've been telling that to people. It's just nothing more than a little child who was celebrating his birthday, and out of nowhere, he released the balloons. And now people want to sit there and say that it's China. They want to say that it's spying. They want to say that it's this, that, and the third. And of course, all we know is that it was just some kid who just ended up not holding onto the string as tightly as they were supposed to.
I'm hearing guys talk about satellites by balloons. Samuel, that makes no sense. So at the end of the day, what I need you to remember, being the most trusted puppet, Samuel, and you are my most trusted puppet, is that when it comes to encouraging people to do their own research, the exact opposite is needed to be stated, okay? We encourage those that are actually in search of information to turn on your television. It is the number one destination for all things you need to know. Okay, Samuel, so let's not let TNT Nate get going with all of his look it up and do your research nonsense. We are well past that. We expect the masses to follow suit, and that means use the television as your medium of news and information gathering. And of course, our most trusted puppet, you, of course, Samuel, being the leader in that.
Well, I'm doing my best every week. Like I said, I tried to keep him on as long as I could this week. I tried to keep him on as long as I could, but hopefully next week when he calls in, you guys will be able to, catch the signal once again. So
I gotta go. There's information coming in relative to kids and their balloons. So I'm gonna leave you here. I'm not gonna cut you off this time. You've been doing a great job, Daniel. Keep up the most trusted puppet work.
Thank you so much, General. Appreciate that. Well, at least I know that I am doing the job that I'm supposed to be doing. Yeah, that's keeping the conspiracy correspondent on the phone as long as I can so that they can trace the signal back to where he is. Listen, guys, listen, you people might not know exactly what's going on behind the scenes over here, but this is a whole big operation. And this operation goes very deep. It goes very deep, and the information is very clandestine. And of course, you wouldn't expect anything different from a real media puppet that has been doing this since Roswell. Speaking of Roswell, let's go back to, like I was telling you, movie themes. I had Cobra Viper tell me that he wanted me to start playing some more movie themes. I'll probably get some more requests from him as well here in the future. But like I said, far be it from me to sit there and tell you that it has something to do with Chinese spy satellites or even little girls who released a string of their birthday balloons. It all goes back to the flying saucers in the sky. At Sam Newsman on Instagram, at Sam Newsman on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, and once again, TikTok, where I have the most followers. Stay tuned. We'll be back here on the other side of this music break to talk about, yes, Schoolhouse Rock. The 50th anniversary of Schoolhouse Rock. Here on the only radio show dedicated to the magic and nostalgia of Saturday morning. Hosted by me, a real puppet. From the most trusted puppet in media. Reporting since Roswell. I'm Sam Newsman, and this is Saturday Morning.